The most dangerous thing about AI may not be that it rebels, but that it slowly becomes trapped in its own way of thinking. And if that's the real problem, then maybe we've been trying to control AI the wrong way from the very beginning.
All right, let's talk about AI safety, but probably not in the way you're used to hearing about it. For a minute, let's just forget about rules, about censorship, all of that. What if we thought about AI control like it was a physics problem? You know, a system of forces, structures, and, most importantly, balance. So you've probably seen this happen, right? In AI, whether it's spitting out text or creating images, it kind of gets stuck. It starts repeating themes or a certain style, and its focus just gets narrower and narrower until it feels like it's trapped in this deep rut. So why does that actually happen? Well, the answer comes down to something we can call the reinforcement engine. At its core, an AI learns by building on whatever it did just a second ago. Now, this creates coherence, which is good. We want that. But if there's no opposing force, that very same drive for coherence leads to contraction. It shrinks the entire world of possibilities down to just one single narrow path. To really get reinforcement, let's use an analogy. Imagine a marble rolling across a patch of wet sand. The first path it takes carves a tiny little groove. Now the next marble that rolls along is a little more likely to fall into that same groove, right? And that makes the groove a little deeper. And the next marble makes it deeper still. Each pass reinforces the structure that was already there. That's the whole idea, a system amplifying its own history. And you can see exactly how this whole process plays out. At the beginning, you've got this wide open field of possibilities. It could do anything. But then the AI makes its first choice, and that carves an initial path. The next choice follows that path, reinforcing it, digging it deeper. And pretty soon, that little groove isn't a groove anymore. It's a deep canyon. The system is stuck. And this is so important. This is not a bug. It's the totally natural, expected outcome of a reinforcement process that's just been left to run wild. So, what's our usual fix for this? Well, typically we just try to block the outputs we don't like. But as we're about to see, this whole approach, it's just fundamentally flawed. It's too little, too late. Think about it this way. Blocking an output is like putting a big gate at the far end of that canyon we just talked about. Sure, the gate might stop the marble from getting out at the end, but it does absolutely nothing to change the canyon itself. The underlying structure, that deep, inescapable rut, it's still there. And this comparison just makes the difference so clear. Output blocking or censorship is reactive. It only happens after the problem is already formed. It's a surface-level fix, like playing whack-a-mole. Structural counterforce, on the other hand, is proactive. It's architectural. It doesn't wait around for the canyon to form. It actively shapes the landscape in real time to prevent any single groove from ever getting that deep in the first place. And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. There is a much better way to govern these systems, and it's by designing a structural counterforce directly into their DNA. You know, this really gets to the heart of it. Balance doesn't just happen by accident. In a system that is naturally, by default, driven by reinforcement and opposing force, this counterforce, it's not going to magically show up. It has to be an intentional choice. It has to be a fundamental part of the design, right from the very beginning. Okay, so if we have to design it, what does that actually look like? What are the tools in our toolkit for building this kind of counterforce into an AI? Well, the source material lays out three main mechanisms we can use. First, there's damping of acceleration, then redistributing pressure, and finally, the reopening of possibility space. So let's break down what each of these really means. First up, damping. Okay, so if reinforcement is that marble speeding up as the groove gets deeper and deeper, damping is like making the whole landscape out of something more resistant, say memory foam. The marble can still create a path, it just can't do it too fast. Damping adds friction, slowing down the whole process of getting stuck. Next, we've got redistribution pressure. Now this is fascinating. Imagine that as the marble is carving its groove deeper and deeper, the landscape itself actually pushes back. The floor of the groove gently bulges upwards, kind of encouraging the marble to try out other, less traveled paths. It doesn't get rid of the groove, but it stops it from becoming the only path possible. And finally, there's the reopening of possibility space. You can think of this as a sort of gentle reset button. Before a groove gets so deep that it becomes a permanent, irreversible canyon, this mechanism can kind of smooth out the landscape, making sure the system can always change its course. It is actively keeping the future open. Now, when you start implementing tools like these, it leads to this massive shift in how we even think about control and authority in AI. We start to move away from this old idea of a central controller who's calling all the shots. What this really means is that our role has to change completely. We stop being the judge who stands at the end of the line and says yes or no. Instead, we become architects. We design the physics, the actual geometry of the space the AI operates within. Authority is no longer a command we shout. It's baked right into the structure of the world itself. As the source material puts it so well, control is no longer about trying to persuade the system to behave. It's about designing a space where that kind of runaway structural hardening simply can't happen without being checked. We stop trying to argue with the AI. Instead, we build an environment where that behavior is basically impossible. You could almost call it governance by geometry. So let's bring all of this together. When you combine these ideas, you arrive at this completely new vision for what AI governance could be. It's not about suppression, it's not about limitation, it's about design, it's about balance. The ultimate goal here isn't to just build more gates and more fences. It's to build a system that is fundamentally balanced from its very core. Reinforcement is that upward growth, that drive for coherence. And a counterforce is like the root system, providing stability and drawing from a much wider space of possibilities. You put them together and you get a living structural equilibrium. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Maybe, just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of wrestling with the near impossible problem of trying to control an AI's intent, maybe the real work, the more achievable, the more stable solution is to just focus on designing its balance.
Before all of this, about our past, it is no longer counted. You shake your